Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. So good to see you. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. I have the most beautiful and amazing and extra nails for you today. I I actually have some upcoming crinkle candles that would be great for today because they are from the line Serene and Green, which would be fantastic for St. Patrick's Day and so apropos. And I apologize. Let's take a rain check on those candles. I'm almost through with green leaf, but not quite. And so I'm thinking maybe in 2 days, I think maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday, watch for those serene green candles from Kringle, and we'll call it St. Patrick's Day after the fact, right? So for today, we have two from Bath & Body Works. I'm so excited about this. So Bath & Body Works, I have Vanilla Birch for you, and it looks like this. And yes, it did not burn down to the wick clips. We will get to that, but I did burn it as far as I could. And as you can see, even one of the wicks extinguished itself and would not relight. So that's a little bit of a preview of upcoming attractions there. So Vanilla Birch, which is a long-standing like classic at Bath & Body Works. And by long-standing, I mean, gosh, at least 5 years, 6 years, something like that. I don't know how much further back it goes than that. But yeah, I've loved Vanilla Birch for a while, and I know there are folks out there who love Vanilla Birch. Long may it last, yes? And then I have one from Henri Bendel, actually, which is Vanilla Bean. And if you didn't catch my haul for this, I picked this up in Columbus, Ohio, which is a big test candle market for Bath & Body Works because it is actually the corporate home, the corporate hub of Bath & Body Works, and where I was born and raised. So I know Columbus very well. And as you know, test markets, test candle markets, or test body care markets are select stores and sometimes select cities in which upcoming fragrances will be tested, or fragrances and products will be tested even if the company is not entirely sure if they will go nationwide at all at any point. So like a true test market. Atlanta, Georgia is one of the big test markets for candles, as well as Columbus, Ohio. And I have heard whispers that Nashville, Tennessee, at least some of the Henri Bendel ones were found at Nashville, Tennessee within like the last year. Nashville is a test candle market. I'm sorry, is a test market for Bath & Body Works, but it hasn't usually been for candles. Candles has been reserved for Atlanta and for Columbus, respectively. And so it is a little surprising for them to have been found in Nashville, but I don't disbelieve it. Nashville is a big test market for all the other body care items for Bath & Body Works, and perhaps recently it might have changed to candles too. I don't know. In Columbus, these candles can only be found at Easton Town Center, which is right now kind of the flagship store in Columbus, Ohio. And the employees at Bath & Body Works in Columbus told me that Easton Town Center location was the only place in the world where you could get these particular candles. Like I said, I did have one of you reach out to me though and say that you saw them in Nashville. So the employees may not be like completely informed in that respect, or perhaps something has changed. But this is my way of saying, if unfortunately you're nowhere near any of those cities, the chances of you seeing these candles are like slim to almost impossible, unless and until something changes and maybe Bath & Body Works does a bigger push of them. I kind of suspect they're not going to, for reasons that we'll talk about in this video. So they have been in Columbus at least for the last like year and a half, 2 years. They came out in a limited edition set of Henri Bendel candles, and there are currently 7 of them in that limited collection. And when they originally came out like a year and a half ago at Easton Town Center, they were charging an obscene amount of money for these. I think it was like $39.99, like up in the $40 range, because when I went to buy them for the first time when I was like in Columbus one of those times. I brought one of these up to the counter, and at the time, I think it was like a $10 off sale for candles. And when it rang up as like 30 bucks, I was like, wait, what? How much is that candle? Because as you can see, they had removed the price tag so that there were like no price tags on the candle, and there were of course no like tags on the shelf either. So I assumed it would be a more premium price, but like a more premium price for Bath and Body Works is like 31, 32. I was expecting it to kind of be in that 31, 32 range, but then when it rang up as 30 with $10 off, I was like, wait, what? So originally they were 40 bucks. Now though, the last time I was in Columbus, which was probably about, I don't know, 5 or 6 months ago, they now have price tags, and now they say like, oh gosh, I can't even remember what it was. I think it was like 28 or 29, something like that. Maybe 29.99, something like that. Yeah. I do have to say that the glass seems a bit heavier for me. And as you can see, there's like texture there. It's very classic, like Henri Bendel look. It's got a gold lid that's kind of phoned in, and frankly, that attracts fingerprints, smudges, and scratches real easily. But otherwise, it's a very nice look. Looks exactly the same on the bottom as a regular Bath and Body Works candle, only it says Henri Bendel and vanilla bean. And I compared the ingredients to like just a regular one, and where it says ingredients there, the ingredients there match the ones on the regular Bath and Body Works candles, and it's a 14.5 ounce. So I was a little bit skeptical as to what the difference was between these. Yeah, because all the information down below where it says like high concentrations of rich fragrance oils, they're just exactly the same from point to point. Now, when I did question the price originally on the first set, the employees were like, this is a premium experience. Yeah, so we definitely use more premium oils in these candles, and it's definitely a much more premium experience. I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of doubt that. That's kind of one of those things that is often said, but is so hard to verify. Yeah? And yes, I'm looking at you, Kringle, especially with the Reserve line. When you get told, oh, they're more premium oils, frankly, that's just not something that we can ascertain or verify. It's just not. And when they say it's going to be a much more concentrated experience, unless we can smell a significant difference on cold or burning, like, we're going to be skeptical about it, right? It's just one of those things that can be said to justify a higher price point that is very hard to like question. Yeah? Like, it's one thing when Bath & Body Works gives you a $33 candle and it like has a fancy lid on it or like a glitter label, and you're like, okay, I don't know that I want to spend that much more for a glitter label, but at least I can see with my eyeballs that there's like some value added or whatever else, you know? Premium fragrance oils is just not something that we can see with our eyeballs or sometimes even experience. And so it's just so easy to kind of write that off as like hype, or as, frankly, as Sean from Hearthside would say, lies, minutia, and propaganda. Yeah? So I was a little concerned about that. If you didn't see my haul, the 7 candles that are out right now for Henri Bendel are this one, Champagne, which is actually nothing like champagne. It's a very green botanical, I think like a green botanical rose, which is why I think they're getting away with calling it champagne kind of in a conceptual way, i.e. rose and champagne. Yeah. I didn't actually burn that one because I sent it to Kent from Candle Channel because he loves rose scents. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this will give you more joy than it gives me. And he's not in a place where he has access to these candles. So I sent him champagne, and I personally haven't burned it. Kent, can you please give us a burn review on champagne? That would be fantastic. And then there is, oh gosh, Blue Jasmine, I think, which is a dupe, well, or rather, It's 1,000 Wishes from Bath & Body Works. So 1,000 Wishes is the dupe of Henri Bendel Blue Jasmine, I believe, but they're like super similar. Firewood is another one, which is very close to Fireside from Bath & Body Works. You see how Bath & Body Works has exploited this catalog quite a bit. Presenting more like budget versions essentially of these Henri Bendel candles. There's another one called Amber. I actually do have that one and I will burn it at some point. It's kind of an off-putting fragrance, but it has its own cult following for sure. And then there was a lavender and leaves and lavender, something like that. Didn't love it, but I'm not a huge lavender person. There's a fig one, which I thought I was just gonna eat up because I love fig. Didn't love that one either. Is that 7? Am I missing one? Am I missing one? I can't remember if I'm missing one, but those, I'll list them down below, right? Vanilla Bean was weirdly one of my favorites. And if you've been on my channel any degree of time, you know that I'm not a vanilla person. I actually am kind of like softly disdainful toward vanilla candles. Okay, so nothing surprises me more, frankly. No one's more surprised than I that I came home with Vanilla Bean and champagne of like the 7 of them, like craziness, right? But on the smell, I liked both of them. I thought they were fantastic. All right, I'm burying the lead. The reason why I am reviewing both Vanilla Birch and Vanilla Bean here in the same breath is that these two are dupes for each other. They really are. There have been whispers of that online, and there wasn't actually a Vanilla Birch in the store when I bought this Vanilla Bean, but I knew Vanilla Birch by like reputation. I've smelled it, I've burned it before, you know? So, and I knew I had one at home, so I was excited about that, and I thought, oh great, I can do a compare and contrast, right? So that's what we're doing, a compare and contrast. I burned Vanilla Bean all the way January and February, and I then had this one, and this one, by the way, did burn all the way down to the wick clips. It really burned quite well. Not quite like a dream, but it burned quite well. This one, obviously, to reiterate, did not burn well at all. The top half was fine. It was the bottom half, and the bottom half, I mean, it just like hit the middle and just died. I mean, almost with like no advanced warning, you know? Usually on Bath & Body Works candles, you get like a lot of advanced warnings that like trouble is ahead, right? This one was like humming along and then all of a sudden just like hit a brick wall at 60 miles an hour and was like, yeah, no, absolutely not going further at all. And it got puny wicks the first time. And the second time I was like, you're okay. You can do it. And then like an hour later, I went in and like this one had extinguished itself, refused to burn again. And it was getting very discolored and it was changing the fragrance. And I was like, okay, I guess we're done. Fine. We can do this review sooner rather than later. By the way, this kind of had this fun lid, and this was the holiday edition. It was kind of one of those like enchanted magical forest kind of vibes. It got panned, but I liked it. I was one of the few people that was like, I like it. It wasn't so overtly Christmassy either, and I do kind of like it when they have at least 1 or 2 lines that are like for people who don't celebrate or who are getting tired of like sequin red, gold, and green. You know, this was just kind of nice. I love the colors. I love colored wax. So I was really happy to like get one of these. So this is this year's pour. It looks like, where is the, oh, okay, here we go. I'm having trouble. I think it was, this one was a pour date of April 2023, I think. April 2023, if I'm reading it correctly. I think that's what it was. So recent on this. This one, I don't know, maybe I'm not reading this correctly because this is looking to me an awful lot like a 2021 pour. Maybe it was 2021? I don't know. That could be correct because if it came out in 2022 and it's been 2 years old, you know what I mean? It could very well be. I don't know. At any rate, I wanted so badly to be able to do this video and be like, guys, I don't want anybody to get FOMO. If you're not near Columbus, if you're not near Atlanta, if you're not near Nashville, it's totally fine because vanilla birch is the same thing, right? Just get a vanilla birch, a totally more than acceptable substitute. They're the same thing. Like, you don't need to get all bent out of shape because you can't get the Henri Bendel. Just get a vanilla birch. Unfortunately, I can't say that. And it makes me kind of upset because I can't lie to you. This candle was head and shoulders better than the vanilla birch. Now, here are the things that are extremely similar. The fragrances are extremely similar. I mean, to the point, like I said, of being dupes of each other. Are there differences? Yeah, I think there are differences. And when I initially smelled both of them on cold before I burned either of them, because even with this one, which had very minimal soot compared to vanilla birch, you know, once you burn them all the way down, the fragrance shifts a little bit, you're getting a little carbon residue, etc. But when I smelled them on cold to compare them real close, could I smell differences? Yes. Were those differences negligible? Yes. For all intents and purposes, it is the same fragrance. So the notes listed on vanilla bean are vanilla bean, warm patchouli, and sweet jasmine. And that smells about right. It has a really big, like, floral component, white floral component to it with the strong vanilla. And then it does have a very musky, woody vibe. And as I've said before, patchouli, leather, wood, especially a smoky kind of wood, those notes will start smelling real similar unless you have a candle that emphasizes one of them in kind of a very pronounced fashion. In that case, you may be able to discern. You may be able to say, no, this is leather as opposed to patchouli. But often you can't really tell a difference. The notes on vanilla birch are white birch, Madagascar vanilla, and warm sandalwood. So this one doesn't list wood at all. This one lists 2 woods and vanilla. So this one has patchouli instead of wood, and it puts sweet jasmine in. There's a lot of jasmine in here. I mean, they just didn't list it. So with vanilla birch, I think they probably would have been scared because they market vanilla birch so hardcore to the fall and winter and holiday season. I think that they don't want to put patchouli in there. I said fall, but that's actually misleading. In my experience, white birch comes out in the holiday season. It doesn't come out in the fall. If it came out in the fall and it listed patchouli, that would be a different matter. But it generally comes out in the for the holiday season. And frankly, it is an extremely excellent burn for January and February. And generally speaking, Bath & Body Works, it doesn't market seasonal candles for January and February, which I think is kind of a miss, but I understand it. By the time they get to January and February, they basically clear the floor of anything that's remotely cozy or seasonal, kind of in an outdoor rugged way. And they either take us full blown to the tropics or do some early floral, etc. But this is actually white birch is an extremely solid January, February burn. I mean, so much so that if I did like a winter candle, and by winter, I mean not holiday season, winter candle legacy edition, vanilla birch would be in it 1000%. I like it much better than like marshmallow fireside, for instance. I just think it's fantastic. But it does have a significant amount of jasmine in it, and it has a significant amount of musk in it. And it might be patchouli. Patchouli people, though, I mean, people who are not patchouli people don't need to worry too much because it really does come across as a more smoky wood or vetiver or, I mean, birch is just about right, to be honest. So birch is it's kind of one of those weird ones because white birch Usually too, like in an almost Pavlovian way, whenever you see white, it means it's a lighter version of something. So white pumpkin as opposed to regular pumpkin, white pumpkin is just going to be like a lot lighter, right? Or like a white amber, for instance, as opposed to like a deep amber, right? Sometimes, even if it's not like an actual thing in nature, Bath and Body Works or other companies will say white in front of something to kind of indicate that it's a lighter or it's up in the higher register as opposed to the lower register, right? White birch, though, you know, it's that like lovely, like gray toned white tree, right? It's, what is the Homeworks candle with the birches on it? It's like, is it winter fireside with like the vertical logs, the gray toned logs. That's white birch, right? And you look at that kind of a tree which looks young, which looks light, but actually birch is not light, and it's not like white in that sense of being like mild. It's really not. Birch is very deep, very resinous, very musky, and actually I think they use birch in conjunction with leather. It has something to do with like the actual curing of leather. Yeah, they use some sort of birch. It's a very similar note to leather. And since patchouli is very similar to leather, do you see how all these things kind of... So in this case, the birch note actually is, I think, what they're calling patchouli here, if that makes sense. I think. And then, of course, we've got vanilla bean here. We've got Madagascar vanilla here. Same difference, right? But the one thing that's really missing in the vanilla birch is the sweet jasmine. And you look, if you smell it, it's very floral. It's a very floral candle. And it's a deep white floral. It's definitely a jasmine. I mean, there's just no question. And it goes so beautiful with all of the woods. For me personally, I don't know that I'm getting a ton of sandalwood per se. And for me, Bath and Body Works sandalwood note is not like special anyway. Their sandalwood note is fine as long as it is in conjunction. It's being married with something else that's far more pleasant. Yeah? And since we've got the birch in here already, or something very reminiscent to birch, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they bumped the birch up with something that is even more wood smelling, because I think, like I said, the birch kind of almost goes in a very like musky, leathery direction, which is why it's often like a very good perfume note, right? I wouldn't even be surprised if they added some sort of like a cedar or something. Whew. But it could be sandalwood. I don't know. Anyway. I guess what I'm trying to say is these fragrances are extremely similar. This one lists jasmine. This one has a ton of jasmine in it. And in fact, I would say, I don't know if there's more jasmine in here than in here, but this one is a little bit bassier and a little bit more, it's a touch more premium smelling than this one. And it's a little bit more nuanced. It's creamier. It's deeper. It's just like, this one, the range on this one seems a little bit more narrow, whereas this one is like this one has depth. This Henri Bendel one has a certain depth and resonance that this one just kind of seems a little bit lighter and thinner. Yeah, it's kind of like when you've got the, you know, the equalizer on your sound system, right? And it's just like everything is kind of in the middle, as opposed to like having a range like this and this. Yes? This one has like depth and range. And then when you smell this one and then you smell like the vanilla birch seems a little like, in musical terms, it sounds tinny. We call it tinny, right? When it's kind of like, it's got the higher notes, but now I'm hearing that there's not as many bass notes. Or even mid notes to kind of like fill out the sound of it, right? This one definitely does smell more premium. And I think there's a great deal more vanilla in it too. It's just got more of everything in it. But I think that the greater attention and space given to the vanilla, and then a lot of the deeper, darker, like it could be birch, it could be patchouli, all of those, means that the jasmine is not overwhelming the other elements, if that makes sense. Whereas in here, I think because the vanilla and the birch are like less bassy or less full than here, the jasmine is kind of like overwhelming the candle a little bit, and jasmine is up in that like higher range with the florals, right? And that's what's contributing to it being like kind of a more narrow, thin, like it's a piercing kind of note, but it just doesn't have the same layers as like this one has. All right, I'm belaboring. What I'm trying to say is that honestly, if you smelled them both, you would say it was the same fragrance. There are just nuances that are different. And definitely when smelled in conjunction, it's obvious that the Henri Bendel is just firing on different levels and does in fact smell a little bit more premium. Also a little bit more rich. So in some sense, this one punches you in the face a little bit more, but it's just thinner. It's thinner on the ground. Whereas this one doesn't punch you, but it like envelops you. It's so rich and it's loud in a different kind of way. Yeah? Okay, so let's get to the major differences, and the major differences are burn quality. So this one burned all the way down to the wick clips. This one obviously did not. Strength and throw. This one did not do well in the open concept. It just didn't. I tried it out here, which is where this one stayed for its entire existence. I tried it out in my like open concept area, and I would say it came in at like a 5. Maybe a 5. I think a 5. And it might have been less than that. Might have been a 4.5. And I was disappointed. But then I took it back into the bathroom and the master bedroom, and it did much better back there. I think when it was burning well and it was burning high, I was definitely getting a 7, maybe even a 7.5, but it was an enclosed space with lower ceilings. And although it is a sizable space and it did fill it all in a very fine fashion, the fact that it did not do well in the open concept and kind of dropped down to a 5 or a 4.5 is kind of indicative of where this fragrance is. And then once it hit the puny wick stage, it really was much more back to like the 4 range for sure. And then it was very short-lived in that particular period. This one, my friends, I'm going to say it's an 8. I'm going to say it's an 8.5. It was an 8.5 every time it was lit, which was incredible. I mean, I didn't even try it back there because honestly, I thought it would be overwhelming. At an 8 or an 8.5 in an open concept, like, especially given that it is floral and perfumey, like I just thought there's no way you can try this in the bedroom. And so in terms of the profile, because it's a beautiful like perfumey, musky, creamy, floral kind of conceptual, don't be misled by the vanilla bean there. Vanilla birch is actually much closer to what it is that you're gonna smell, by the way. Because it's like that kind of a conceptual, an 8.5, trying to put that back in your bedroom, it would knock you down. All things being equal, it's a great bedroom scent because it is that kind of a conceptual, like that kind of sultry, sweet, floral, like it does kind of feel like an intimate kind of conceptual, and one that you would put in like in a large master bedroom. But I just don't think I could do it. And I didn't try it, so, you know, all bets off there. 8.5. Here is the caveat. The caveat is that while it says on the bottom that this is a paraffin soy blend, just like all the rest of their candles, the wax formula seemed significantly different in the way that it responded. This one took an enormous amount of time to pull out. And sometimes I would light it and it would be 2 hours and it still had not pulled all the way to the edges. And so I put it in my Hurricane, which is what I usually put my Homeworks candles in. I put it in there, not because I needed more volume from it, but because I needed more heat. I needed the candle to pull more rapidly than it was doing. And so it stayed in the hurricane for almost the entire time that I burned it. Again, not because I needed more strength and throw on it. I definitely didn't, but I needed more heat on the candle. So that's the thing. And it was that way, not just in the initial burns, but pretty much all the way down. I needed it to be like, if you've got well, I guess they don't do like Illumilids for Bath and Body Works, or the foil or whatever else it is. In that sense, it is a little bit more similar to like a luxury kind of candle. You know, those luxury candles that like just don't pull out, right? Usually they have like only one wick, but even some of the luxury candles with 2 wicks really struggle to pull out. You've got to foil them, etc. This one definitely felt kind of in that genre. It didn't burn badly. It didn't burn low. It definitely didn't have puny wicks. So in that sense, a much better experience than most luxury candles, but it did need extra help pulling out. So if you've got a hurricane, I would really highly recommend it. Again, not for strength and throw, but to get it to pool. So that was the one thing that I kind of noticed about it. There were a couple moments, and I don't know if you can see it, but like some of that smut in there is a little tiny bit sooty, just a little bit. It got a little sooty, a tiny bit discolored, but it didn't, and that was like in the halfway point, I was kind of noticing that. And I was concerned about it, but it righted itself and it was fine. So I didn't really have any like major issues the way that like some Bath and Body Works candles have. I can't say it burned like a dream, but it was definitely closer to burning like a dream than like burning badly for Bath and Body Works. And with the fact that it took an enormous amount of time to pool, it also took an enormous amount of time for it to burn all the way down. So this was a 3-wick candle that like went the distance. I don't know, it says burn time 25 to 45 hours, but it's, like I said, it's no different from any of their other labels. This one says 24 to 45 hours too. I would say that this one was possibly in the 60 to 85 hours. Like it was high. And for a 3-wick, extremely impressive. It just was. It was shockingly high strength and throw. It was really a very good, clean burn for the amount of hours that I burned it. Gosh, it was so good. So good. I don't even know what to say. It was so fantastic. So I guess this is my way of saying, like, yes, you are missing out if you're not in one of these markets. This candle is incredible. And I'm really hoping, Kent, out there, can you burn that champagne candle and tell me if it burns similarly? Maybe it's just an oddity. It's a anomaly with this vanilla bean, but maybe the other Henri Bendel ones don't perform that well. If all the rest of those Henri Bendel ones perform that well, I can understand why they put it at a $39 price point. I still think it's a little high for a candle, but when you consider the fact that a Nest candle, for instance, that they're trying to sell that kind of a candle at $48 for an 8-ounce. 8-ounce. And this one is a 14.5 with 3 wicks that burns at least as long as a Nest 8-ounce, if not more, right? And gives you an 8.5 in strength and throw. And is $39. This candle is, it's not just like lies, minutia, and propaganda. I mean, this really is, it's kind of a game changer. And that has me conflicted. It just has me conflicted across the board because I don't know. And I think Bath and Body Works is conflicted about these candles. I really think they are. For them to have started out at like $39.99 and now they've dropped to like $29.99, probably because nobody was going to buy it at $39.99, right? It's not the demographic. And even I was skeptical that it was going to be any kind of a different experience. It is a different experience. Oh my gosh. If every Bath and Body Works candle burned like this, game changer. Game changer. This is splitting the difference up to those luxury candles and it performed better than most luxury candles. But is $39.99 like too much for that demographic? You know, that consumer demographic. People like me, done. Where do I sign? Where do I sign? Would I rather get one of these than like a reserve candle from Kringle? Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. It was incredible. It was incredible. Minimal soot, long burn time, like strength and throw up in the 8.5 range, premium fragrance, burn better than all of Bath and Body Works, than all of Kringle's 3 wicks have up to this point. All of them. Kringle's 3 wicks can't compare to this. It's just not comparable. This is literally just almost in a different category. Not only of all of the rest of Bath and Body Works candles, but all of the comparable 3 wicks, the Goose Creeks, the Yankee candles, the Kringle candles that are mimicking this. I mean, this is just, it's just in a different category, which is what makes me like, and I'm sure Bath and Body Works feels the same way. I don't know how much more it costs them to do this than to do this. I don't. But even if they were willing to do this at a certain price point, would the consumer demographic go along with it? Or do they have just way too many casual candle buyers in their consumer demographic that frankly don't care if it's that much better than this, right? It would be kind of like casting pearls before swine. And I hope that's not like offensive to anyone. I'm not calling anyone a swine. It's just an idiom, right? I don't know. I really, really don't. I don't know. And I'm concerned that the $29.99 is they're just going to burn through the Henri Bendel ones that they have, and then they're just going to be done with it. They're just going to be done with it. Or if they continue with it, they'll just pour this in this and put it out there for the same price, which is what I thought they did. You know, they were just like lies, minutia, and propaganda trying to get us with like the Henri Bendel name and with like a different jar. But I'm very happy to say that this was everything that they actually advertised. Usually when there's employees, you're like, it's a premium experience. It's got like premium oils in it. Like usually that's just a lie. It's not a lie in this case. It's really not. I would love, actually, I feel like Kent from Candle Channel and Josh from Touch the Fire Twice would be two good ones to really like give us their take on this from like a marketing perspective. They both like have a real love and enthusiasm for Bath and Body Works, and they also have been with the company for a long period of time. Like they know a lot about the products, about the offerings, about what has been tried, what has not been tried. They just have a really good sense of it. And they're also kind of marketing people. So I suspect that they would have a certain take on what to do with this, because this experience makes me like not want to buy this candle because now I just want to buy this one, right? I don't know. I would never want to advise a company or advise Bath and Body Works to not put forward a quality product. If you can do a quality product, do it, right? But at the same time, I just don't know if, just because they can, if it's a smart business decision. I really don't. I really don't. And can they keep some select candles like this that don't just have like a cool lid, but actually have a significantly different burn experience? Can they compete with themselves like that on the same floor? I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry. I know this has gone on for really long, but I just think it's so interesting. The bottom line here is yes, they are the same fragrance. They do come across a little bit differently, primarily because this one is deeper, richer, and more premium. So you actually get like a more balanced candle here than here. The jasmine is here, but it like coalesces with the rest of the fragrance. The other notes are like a real countervailing they match each other in this candle, whereas in this one, kind of the jasmine does overwhelm a little bit. And they had to add a significant other amount of wood, I think, in this candle to like kind of fortify itself against the jasmine. So there are nuances in terms of the fragrance. Basically, it's the same fragrance, and they performed really different, not only in terms of strength and throw, but also just in terms of the quality of the burn experience across the board. That's what I have for you. Yes, I highly recommend Vanilla Bean. And if you're passing through Columbus or you're passing through the test markets in Atlanta, Georgia, I haven't heard any reports of them being there, but if they were anywhere in the United States, they would definitely be there. Yeah. And then, like I said, I had a few people report that they saw them in Nashville, Tennessee. Well worth it for you to pick it up, especially if you remember Vanilla Bean from Henri Bendel and want one. I mean, I suspect you would probably buy it at any price point, but especially if it's dropped down to that $29 one. This is one of those rare Bath & Body Works candles that you could buy for full price, and it would make sense. And maybe that's where I should end the review, because that's basically sums the whole thing up. Is a candle that Bath & Body Works has finally put forward that makes sense at full price. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? I don't know. Anyway, I don't think that any of them are available, because the Vanilla Birch is obviously a seasonal candle, so I don't think it's available online for Bath & Body Works. And the Vanilla Bean one is just, I mean, it's just available in the stores. It's not available online for obvious reasons. But even if you're in Columbus, for instance, you couldn't like buy it online to pick it up in store or something. Like, you just have to go. So I don't know, I'll give you some kind of blurb, below about what I thought, reiterating my thoughts here. But unfortunately, I can't link anything. That's what I've got for you, my friends. Vanilla Birch by Bath & Body Works and Vanilla Bean from Henri Bendel. Really exciting. I'll catch you guys in the next one.